Obviously, Central Asians are very concerned with what has been happening in Afghanistan, and also they're very hopeful. But at the same time, you know that they want strong bilateral ties with the United States, and the United States has always professed to want to have strong bilateral ties. But America still looks at Central Asia through the prism of Afghanistan. A lot is about Afghanistan in Central Asia when it concerns the United States, or is that the wrong assessment?
I think it's a mischaracterization. Obviously, Afghanistan's important. It's important to us. It's our longest running war. It's important to Uzbekistan, which shares a border with Afghanistan. But I think our relationship has always been focused at how do we build out the relationship? How do we build the economic ballast in the relationship? How do we build people-to-people ties? How do we help reform initiatives? I mean, initially, this was about a country's very, I think, tricky evolution from a Soviet republic to an independent state. 27 years later, I think we're in a different position. It's about building out the institutions of democracy. And so we very much want to see President Mirziyoyev succeed in his stated reforms. I mean, the convertibility of currency eliminated what had been an obstacle to a lot of interest by American and other multinational industry. So how do we promote business? How do we help Uzbekistan enter the WTO, which it now states as a goal? How do we provide technical capacity so that your ministries are capable of implementing the vision that's been laid out by the president? I read through the president's 4-hour address, and it's really sweeping. It's not just one area that is being focused on. I mean, the president has a comprehensive vision for the nation, and I think that's very appealing to us and to others of the international community who have long, thought that that we've never been able to achieve the potential in the bilateral relationship that we sought. Uzbekistan is an important regional country. It has a rich history and a rich history of experience to bring to bear. So I think you're going to find us working on all elements of the relationship, and whether it's under a strategic dialogue format. You saw the president speak in December, where they affirmed the need to move forward in the relationship. You saw our Secretary Tillerson back in September at the UN General Assembly was meeting with the foreign ministers of Central Asia. Our Deputy Secretary did so in January. I think you're going to see an increased tempo of visits because we all recognize the opportunity that's being presented.
And you have a plan to capitalize on that opportunity, because for the longest time what we heard from Washington was that, we want to see change in Uzbekistan, and those changes should come from within. Right. And now many see that happening, and you obviously see that happening too.
Right. And I think you make an important point. I mean, this is an Uzbek plan. This is not some, no one, the international community is not giving dictation. The international community is observing with great both excitement and approval of this ambitious reform program, and we want to be of assistance. And when I was in Tashkent and had the opportunity to meet with the foreign minister, the defense minister, your special representative for Afghanistan, Senator Safoyev and his colleague, as well as civil society and international organizations, I heard everyone talking about the opportunities, and often when you get a vision that's laid down, it's going to be the implementation of the vision that's the hardest. And here I think not just the United States, but the UN, World Bank, IMF, there are lots of organizations that can help President Mirziyoyev and his team get to where they want to go and to open Uzbekistan up. The prisoner releases, the steps that have been taken to eliminate forced labor, the openings that we've seen on media, the calls for reform of the judiciary. I mean, all of those, I think, are deeply reassuring, for instance, to an American business community that has long been looking at how to get into the Uzbekistan market. So I think there are lots of opportunities here, and and I would say lots of goodwill on our part to try to take advantage of the new Uzbekistan that we see.
Based on everything that you know about the reform agenda in Uzbekistan, where do you want these reforms to lead? This question actually comes from the Uzbek experts, policymakers. They wonder about what U.S. wants to see. Like, where should we go from here?
We would like to see Uzbekistan that's open to the region and to the world. For I think many years Uzbekistan rejected the notion of deeper regional ties. We saw, and much of this was natural. I think after the Soviet Union, there was almost an instinctive moving away from Soviet-era cooperative mechanisms that ultimately many made sense, whether it was cooperation on energy, cooperation on water. And so now, with I think the new opening in Uzbekistan, how do we look for the most efficient, the greatest efficiencies, the greatest business ties, the kind of cooperation that is going to increase the living standards and the prosperity of Uzbeks, offer opportunities for investors, both Uzbek and foreign, to participate, and to capitalize on Uzbekistan's skills. I mean, its understanding of the region, what it can bring to the diplomatic table, and helping to forge regional peace. And the immediate initiatives under President Mirziyoyev to settle borders, to resolve disputes with neighbors, to open up, to create air links, all of those send an extremely positive message to the community and create new opportunities, not just for business, but I think for regional stability writ large.